Now let's assume that you're a lifter and that you're looking for ways to improve your lifting technique. There's an incredibly powerful piece of hardware that we all possess. The hardware I'm talking about is the brain. And the brain doesn't care for the hundreds of cues that you could apply to your lifts. Rather, the brain cares about putting you in a position that's going to get the job done. For you to actually become better at any lift, there's a degree of just getting it done that actually works. Now, sometimes a new cue we've heard might actually work, until it doesn't. But there's one thing that'll never let you down. Now, that's giving the hardware an opportunity to reorganize itself without actually adding more to the mix. Now, technique for a lot of people starts to look like a 10-point checklist of cues, completely, and I mean completely neglecting the fundamental thing that all of your lifting relies on. Your squat doesn't actually rely on you pulling the bar into your shoulders. Your bench press surely doesn't rely on your lat engagement, and your deadlift does not rely on you keeping your back straight. But the one thing that they all rely on is how your body will organize itself during the hardest part of a lift. It sounds easier said than done, so let me explain what I mean by that. When you look for more cues or better cues, you'll just end up giving your brain an unsolvable Rubik's Cube. So the idea is that you want to give the brain a solvable Rubik's Cube where it can solve it internally, rather than forcing new bits of information each time you land on a new cue. You've all heard of tempos and pauses, and these concepts are commonly understood as ways to increase time under tension, which is a bit of a broad stroke, and it doesn't really help you understand exactly how that can help you. A better way of thinking about it is learning during tension. Now, tempos and pauses, they differ slightly. For example, a tempo is a controlled repetition where you're using a prescribed time to either lower, pause, or move the weight, whereas a pause only prescribes a time where you literally stop the movement for that period of time in a particular position. As you can imagine, both of these tools give your brain more time to solve the problem and to organize your body in a way that'll be most effective. And so this is the very reason why tempos and pauses should be your first point of call when addressing technical inefficiencies, not cues upon cues. For something like the squat, common technique breakdown happens on the way down or at the very bottom, otherwise known as the hole. Now, for some lifters, when they just drop to the bottom of a squat without controlling the downward portion, their entire body is a nail under the hammer of the barbell sitting on your shoulders. And that hammer is heavy, and when it strikes, the nail will get nailed. Oftentimes when we see a very fast descent in the squat, the weight of the barbell shifts the body too far forward, and then we see knees caving and hips rising. These are all terms of inefficiencies that a lot of people know about. In the bench press, technical breakdown is most noticed when you're unable to actually press the bar off your chest. Pressing the bar isn't just reliant on the muscles that do the pressing, but it's also the springboard at which you create with your body when you create an arch and apply leg drive. If you drop the bar too quickly and don't pay attention to holding the arch and applying leg drive, all of that tightness you create at the start is completely loosened, and then you start to resemble the inflatable man in front of a car yard. For the deadlift, it's a bit of a tricky one because there's minimal opportunity for you to actually create tension before the hardest part of the lift. Some people might say engage your lats or pull the slack out of the bar as a means of creating tension. But if the bar starts in the wrong position, none of that matters. To improve your squat, I would recommend using tempos instead of pauses. When you do a pause squat, you spend time in the bottom position. But if you go to this position inefficiently, the pause won't be very rewarding. The tempo in this case serves far more utility and benefit. In this video, I'm doing some tempo low bar squats. As I'm lowering the barbell, the brain is taking in the inputs such as where most of my mass is, and it's reorganizing it in a way that keeps me centered and balanced. If I use the same weight and just let myself drop into the hole, the weight will want to shift forwards, and that's where all the nasties will begin to appear. For the bench press, both tempos and pauses are really neat tools. But it's the tempos yet again that are going to serve a far better purpose. The bench press is reliant on the springboard you create, like I just said a moment ago. These are things that you want to be really good at maintaining during the bench press. If I let the barbell just drop and sink into my chest, I'm not really thinking about tension. I'm literally just thinking about slowing the barbell so it doesn't crush me. A tempo in this case gives you time to focus on holding a high arch and applying leg drive at the same time, which creates the solid foundation that the bench actually relies on. A pause on the deadlift is definitely going to be the gold mine. There's a bunch of different positions that you could pause in the deadlift, but I find the most effective one is what I call a 2-inch pause. This has the lifter initiating the pull, and as soon as the bar breaks the floor, they pause, roughly 2 inches off the ground. If the bar has started too far from the shins or too close, the pause will self-correct the body's position to where it's most balanced before finishing off the remainder of the repetition. So as you can see, to improve your lifting technique, instead of searching for new cues, remember that cues are about as good as a band-aid on a stab wound. And instead, you want to find opportunities to learn during tension. If you're unsure how to program this in your training, just drop me a comment below and let me know. and I'll help you with that. And last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe as well so that you keep up to date with our weekly video releases. Guys, that is all from me today. My name is Dennis and I'm from Deep Training.